This is Nikki with Nikki Sweets and Adornments. Why don't you make a cute little giraffe fondant topper with me? Let me go over the materials you'll need for this project. I really like to use SmartFlex modeling paste as opposed to fondant when I make these figures, only because it holds its shape a lot better. I have a duster pouch and inside is cornstarch, so if the modeling paste gets too sticky, I can just dust it. I have a palette and I have water inside and I have an edible brush. Over here I have an X-Acto knife if I need it. I have a Dresden tool. I have a balling tool to mark the eyes. I have an edible brush, but it's a little bit more of a fluffy one. And I'm going to use these colors just to give the cheeks a little bit of a rosy glow. I have some toothpicks, and one I'm going to stick in the body so I can stick the head on, and then I'm going to use a couple to put the little antenna on. And this makes it so that it's definitely not going to be edible. So if you make this for a customer, you just want to make sure and let them know. I have these black sugar pearls. I find they work really well for the eyes. And these are the kind that I like. And you'll notice when you open the container, they'll vary in size just a little bit. So I've actually picked out two that are pretty similar in size. And to make the colors, I use Color Mill Lemon, and that's for the main body. I use the tiniest bit of Color Mill Taupe, that is just for the eyebrows. And then for the brown hoofs and the spots, I use Artisan Accents Cocoa Brown. What I actually do for the whole body is I'm going to measure out 152 grams of the yellow, and that way I know that I'm measuring out the right amount. I don't want a whole lot of excess yellow in case I don't use it anytime soon, it kind of dries out. So I'm measuring out for the body part of the giraffe, I need 65 grams, and that's what this is right here. It's been sitting in this bag for a little bit, so anytime it's been sitting, I just want to make sure and give it a good knead. And you'll notice as you knead it, it's going to become a lot more pliable, and then when you roll it, you're going to have less cracks too. If your modeling paste is really on the dry side, occasionally I'll put it in the microwave just for maybe 5-10 seconds, just real quick intervals, and then I'll knead it. This is pretty nice and soft, so I'm not going to do that this time. And then it's funny, there does come a point where you knead it too much and then it'll get sticky, and that's where you can use your cornstarch. So after I've kneaded it, I'm just going to push my hands together and make a ball at first. And I'm actually putting pressure on both of my hands to get rid of the creases. Now, if you do have a really stubborn crease that you can't get rid of, you can put that on the bottom so it's not showing. So once I have a ball, I'm going to think about rolling it more like this so I can get it into a cone shape. And because it's a giraffe, I actually want the body to be pretty tall. Some of it's going to be kind of the neck as well. And then I'm also going to kind of push on the bottom to get a nice flat bottom too. So I'm thinking about a shape like this. Let's move on to the legs. I'm going to need 9 grams for each leg. Both of these are 9 grams, so I'm just going to give them a quick little knead. Once I've kneaded it, I'm going to roll into a ball. Okay, and once I have it in a ball without any creases, I'm actually going to do it in a tapered log, almost kind of like a carrot. And the same thing for the other leg. And then I'm going to push the end of the foot to make it nice and flat like this. I'm going to take my water with my edible brush and paint the inside of the leg. And I'm just going to kind of curve it around the body. You could also use edible glue to attach your parts. I tend not to do that just because I always have water in hand. Edible glue might dry a little bit faster, but I like to give these several days to firm up anyway, so I'm not too concerned about that. I'm going to move on to the arms. For the arms, you'll need 6 grams each. So same thing, just knead it first and then roll into a ball. And then we're going to do another tapered log or carrot shape. And then I want to flatten the bottoms. We may need to play with the size a little bit. I'm going to start adding the hoofs, and we may need to adjust it a little bit for the size. For the hoof, each one is 2 grams. So I have my 2 grams of each. I'm just going to knead each one, roll it into a circle. I'm noticing these are getting a little sticky. I'm just going to dust them a little bit. And then each one I just want to flatten. So I have a circle and then I'm just pressing it down like this. And then each one of these legs is going to need a hoof. So I can just take my water and attach it. I'm going to take my Dresden tool, and in order to get these little lines here, makes it more of a hoof shape. Just going to put one line there, one line there. Just a little line on each. Okay. So now I want to put these on and kind of see where they come up to. I'm actually going to lay this back just so I can kind of see for a minute. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. And for this giraffe, I thought it actually kind of looked cute where these front legs are actually together like this. And I'll let that just kind of set up a little bit. I'm going to move on to the head. So for my head, I'm going to need 55 grams of modeling paste. That's my 55. I'm just going to give it a good knead. I'm going to start rolling it into a ball, and the same thing, I'm putting pressure on the ball with both my hands to get all the creases out. Now that I have my ball, I'm actually going to take my fingers. See how in this face there's a little bit of an indent that kind of separates this muzzle area from the top? Also, I don't know if you noticed, but it's actually not a circle, it's kind of more of an oval. So I'm going to kind of go for more of an oval shape while I'm trying to differentiate this little muzzle part. You can also take this kind of smoothing side and use that as well. So see how it kind of bulges out, comes in, and then bulges out again. And I'm also kind of adjusting it so it's a little bit more of an oval. Then once I've done that, I'm going to take my two thumbs and I'm going to put in two eye sockets. So right above the muzzle. And then I'm going to take my dry stitching tool again. I want to put two nostrils. So I'm going to start at the top and make an indent, and I almost kind of want to do this motion a little bit just to make it so that it's a little bit wider on the top. And I purposely did them so they're kind of pointing in a little bit like this. I'm going to take my ball tool, and this ball tool is about the same size as my little sugar pearl. So I know if I put a little indent, it'll be about this right size just for a little pearl. I'm gonna do one about there, just where I want the eyes to be. And then I'm gonna take a small bit of water and put it in the eye sockets. Don't go crazy with the water at this step because sometimes these balls can bleed. I'm gonna take the tiniest little bit of this tan color, and this is what I'm gonna use to make these eyebrows. So about where I want them, I would say probably a little above where you did that eye socket. I'm just gonna put a little bit of water. And I'm gonna roll the smallest snake you can imagine. It's funny, some of these really small pieces can actually be some of the most challenging, just because they're kind of hard to hold on to. I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and cut just a little eyebrow, and you can shape them a little bit more to like an eyebrow shape if you want. And then I'm just going to shape them a little bit. I like them to be kind of curved, makes them look friendly. Let's move on to the ears. The ears on this giraffe are going to be pretty small. So I only need 1 gram, but that's going to be for both ears. So that's 1 gram. I'm going to just cut this in half. So I'm going to roll these just in little balls at first. And then once it's in a ball, I'm going to roll it in more of a teardrop shape. So like this. Then I'm going to take my Dresden tool and push in like this. And then I move on to this thicker part so I can get more of the like middle to bottom. And actually, if you kind of push it in your hand like that, it kind of makes a nice little curve like an ear. So same thing for this one. I want to make it in a teardrop shape at first. I'm going to start with the really skinny side of the tool. Move down, move to the thicker, and then kind of push it in my hand so it curves it. Now, it's easier to attach the ear if you actually cut a flat bottom. So I'm going to do for both of them. And then just take a little bit of water. I want to attach it to the face. Let's move on to these antennae. I have 1 gram of the yellow. And I'm actually just going to cut this in half so I have both different antennas. And I'm going to roll it in a snake shape about like this. And it's important that you make them the same length. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just kind of testing to make sure they're the same. I'm going to break off just a little bit of toothpick. And I'm going to insert it in the antenna. And I'm just going to make sure this bottom is flat. So the same thing with the other one. I'm going to add a little bit of water where I want them. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually use a toothpick just to get the hole started, because sometimes it's hard to push it in with the piece. You don't want to smush your piece. Just kind of helps you out a little bit. Then I want to make sure and add the little brown ball at the end. And I can add some water to the end so it attaches. And just kind of estimate how big the ball's going to be depending on how big you made this area here. Now we can move on to all the little spots on our giraffe. And if you notice, the spots on the giraffe are, one, they're not perfect circles, so you don't have to ever worry about that. And two, they're going to be all different sizes. So make sure you just, alternate the different sizes. And to make them, you're just going to roll balls and flatten them. And wherever you want to stick one on, you just add a little water. I did a bigger one there, so maybe I'll do a smaller one next. I'll just add a little water where I want it. I can tell my modeling paste is getting a little bit sticky. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the giraffe's body and just add random spots where I like them. Okay, I've glued all my spots on now. I'm gonna give the giraffe just some cute little rosy cheeks. And to do that, I have my paint palette here, and I like to use this pink with a fluffier brush. I do notice that when you put it on, sometimes it can be a little bit strong when you put it on, so I actually just sometimes will tap it on the paper towel, kind of like blotting. You can always add some, but it's hard to take it off. And I'm just gonna give the giraffe just a little bit of rosy cheeks. Like that. And what you can also do, if you'd like, is I can get a smaller brush like this one, and I can take that same pink and just put a little bit of pink in the ears. It's just a nice little detail. And the last thing I want to do is just give the giraffe a little bit of hair. I'm going to take my same brown. If you remember before when we rolled the balls and then we rolled the balls into teardrops, kind of like when we did the ears, I'm going to do the same kind of thing for the hair. So about like that shape or so. And what you can do is take your Dresden tool. I'm just going to draw little lines of hair. And make sure it's nice and pointy on the end. It's a cute detail. It makes it look a little bit more like hair. And then I'm just going to brush the bottom with water. We'll do one piece here. I think I'm going to do one more smaller piece over here. So again, rolling into a ball and then a cone. And I'm just going to put hair marks. And I like to kind of make it a little bit more of a tip at the end. Brush it back with water. You can make them bigger or smaller, you know, whatever you like. Now I'm going to put a toothpick in my body for stability, and I don't want to just jam it in there. I actually, when I put it in, I'm kind of thinking of twisting it, and I'm going to save about that much or so for the head. Going to add some water, and also I like to add some water on the bottom of the head as well. And I'm just going to carefully insert my head. Okay, my baby giraffe is finished. What do you think?